welcome to a 1-hour special of Business of Being Black. Yes! And the Book of Sean. We are switching things up today, and both shows are coming to you live in front of a studio audience from the Fox Little Theater on the Fox Studio lot. Yes! So let's get down to the business of being black. It is Friday, and tonight we're talking about Donald Trump's announcement of candidacy for the 2024 presidency and the mixed reaction it's getting, why House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy could be facing an uphill battle with his party, and the tragic murders of 3 Virginia football players. And you won't believe why a middle school teacher was recently fired after a video went viral of him making surprising statements to his students. The business of being black today is yet another round of the political and trending highlights of the week. Please welcome my co-host, activist, and radio personality, Dominique DePrima.
Hi, Tammi Mac.
Hey, Dominique. Also, political analyst Ed Sanders is here. What's up, Ed?
Hey, Tammi Mac.
Comedian and filmmaker Alycia Cooper.
Happy to be here, Tammi Mac.
And conservative journalist, I must not be conservative, I must be liberal, because I had a hard time saying that word. Conservative journalist and commentator John Miller is here with us as well.
Good to see you, Tammi.
So let's get down to business. On Wednesday, former President Donald Trump announced that he is running for president in 2024. Take a look at this.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Trump went on to say America's comeback starts right now. Your country is being destroyed before your eyes, he said. The former president also rolled out a second-term platform outlining the changing of voting laws. He stated, "I will immediately demand voter ID, same-day voting, and only paper ballots." Trump also addressed the continuation of building the southern border wall. So what are your thoughts on Trump's third run for presidency, and could it cause strife among the Republican Party, John?
I think that people think there's a lot of division within the Republican Party, with DeSantis probably running. We don't know yet. He hasn't announced, and Trump announced really early. But when you see Trump in a room, he's still at 70% approval, and people like him the most out of the Republican candidates. So people are talking, other people might run, but at the end of the day, I still think it's Trump. I still think
you think it's a lot of pomp and circumstance around DeSantis,
so.
But that's not really going down.
No, I think Trump still has his hands around
when
the part.
Your own daughter won't even work for you anymore, you got a problem.
But
you know
his daughter is only one vote. His daughter is one vote, and the people are voting in mass.
Vote, John.
Okay,
she's an important vote.
If you
can't get your own kid on board, you got a problem. Especially when you already paid her millions of dollars to be in your
There's a thought there, John. There's a thought there.
I think a lot of people want Trump to be in trouble because they hate the idea of Trump having that kind of command over the party. But at the end of the day, I still think.
Is it all just the media circus about Trump not having the Republicans on his side?
Well, you're nailing it. The circus is back in town, right? We're going to have to endure it for another year and a half. But I think when you look at it, to John's point, he is going to be the biggest name in politics on the Republican side. They're not going to divorce themselves. You're going to hear a lot of sort of the senators thinking that, we need someone else. We need a Ron DeSantis or something like that. But in the end game, folks are going to get in line with Trump, and it's going to end for the fall of the Republican Party.
Definitely makes for great comedy, Alycia.
Oh, I'm ready. The jokes are just lining itself up. First of all, Ivanka's still mad that her mother mysteriously fell down those steps and then got buried at that golf course. And we know why she was put on that golf course. We all know that Donald Trump is not that creative. He's been watching Ozarks, and those documents are in that casket. Now, I don't...
You're making fun of someone.
Not the documents in the casket.
That's someone's mom.
Is it too soon? Is it too soon, John?
What was that, 3 months ago that she passed?
Not soon enough.
I don't think she did anything to you, but...
Oh, she did a lot to me.
So do you think, Alycia, that the Republicans are on Donald Trump's side?
I do think they're on Donald Trump's side. I mean, first of all, they don't want him to bully them and say, he has this whole bully pulpit and he uses it not for good, and they're afraid of him. It's not because they want to be behind him.
Are they afraid, John?
No one's afraid. People, the connection Trump has, and you're a comedian, I haven't seen your act, but Donald Trump is one of the best stage performers in the business. That's why, and I've heard comedians say this, that he's actually funny himself. There's not much to make fun of him with because he is actually,
there's a lot to make fun of him.
But do we
the
really
funniest
want a
man in the
comedian
room.
for a president, Dominique?
Well,
I don't
plan
agree
on
with
running,
any of
so
y'all.
yes.
I think the Republican Party are running like rats from a sinking ship. They're already becoming emboldened, Tammy. They are already abandoning him, and he hasn't even been indicted yet. It's only going to get worse for Mr. Trump. And not only that, he's over here talking about changing voting rules and all this stuff.
He's
People want to
changing
hear
them back
about
to
inflation.
what they were.
Whatever.
He's changing them back.
Republicans failed in the midterms
not
because
whatever.
they
He's
talked
making
about
it so that you have to-
inflation,
But
you
John,
had no
there was a
solutions.
grand
You
John.
can't talk about inflation and then your platform is let's investigate Hunter Biden. How does that help
Well,
me
they just
pay my
opened a
gas?
special counsel for Joe Biden to
for
announce
what?
a special
The
counsel for
bread
Trump.
and butter
How many
issues.
times are they going to try to investigate Trump with something and not
All
find
right,
anything?
all
But John,
right,
you're
all
talking
right.
about rolling stuff back. You would think you would learn what happened to y'all trying to roll back women's rights to choose.
It has nothing to
Stop
do with-
rolling
they're
stuff
asking
back.
you to
It does
show
not work
ID
well.
at
John,
the debate, and
all
they've
of us are
created-
black
Moving
on this
forward.
panel. Do we really want to roll back some stuff?
We're moving
Voting
forward.
ID rights. And the
On
whole
Wednesday.
notion with the voting ID is that black people don't have driver's licenses. That's the rationale. They say we
No.
don't have licenses. We don't know how to get to the DMV. So to
Well,
show
let
up
me
at the poll,
roll on
you
to the next
can't ask
topic.
for
Let
ID.
me roll on to the next topic here. Wednesday,
Which is insulting.
Republicans won control of the U.S. House, giving them control for the first time since 2018, which gives conservatives leverage to blunt President Joe Biden's agenda and spur a flurry of investigations, John, as you just said. But a narrow majority could pose immediate challenges for GOP leaders and complicate the party's ability to pass legislation. Dominique, on you.
Well, yeah, the Republicans have a very slim majority, so what is really complicating is their ability to govern because they are already at each other's throats. Look, you can say what you want to about Nancy Pelosi. She's done a masterful job, and do they have a Republican Nancy Pelosi? I don't think so.
Well, if California Representative Kevin McCarthy were appointed House Speaker, could he achieve the unity he needs to get the party?
No, everybody is furious with Kevin McCarthy after the midterms right now. Because the blame is, first of all, he pulled money out of the Arizona races. So Blake Masters, who's one of the more popular Republicans running, he pulled funding from his race. And a lot are arguing that he lost him the election.
So now we want to blame McCarthy instead
But that's
of Trump.
the thing. That's
when
the
it's
thing
really
about.
on
That's
Trump
the thing about
because
Trump.
His candidates
Trump is one of the uniting forces
let's
within
go.
the Republican Party.
No, look, I mean, when it comes to McCarthy, he's not really going to be the real show. When all he is going to be is just sort of the party of no. Whatever they feel like it's just going to be answered no. The real show in the House is going to be with Hakeem Jeffries once he becomes Speaker and watching how he puts a counter to Kevin McCarthy. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Alicia, what you say?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Ed just said, and I want to see how well Hakeem Jeffries handles this new post. And thanks Nancy Pelosi for the 15 great years she gave us. She worked really hard. She got a lot of stuff pushed through, but I'm glad she's able to now. She'll still be in Congress, but she can back up and spend time with her husband and deal with more issues at home because she did a great job. But now I think our party is moving towards the future. That's why we're progressives, because the opposite of a progressive is a regressive.
And we say
that's
no.
what you are.
We proudly
trying to
say no.
regress.
Stop.
I mean, the Democrats are going from the first woman speaker to the first
black
African American speaker.
speaker.
Thank you very much.
Progressive.
Shouldn't their qualifications and what they actually do
Oh,
for
they're
us
very
matter?
well
You think they're not
qualified.
You know,
qualified?
Republicans
You think
are-
they're not qualified
I
because
just
they're
don't.
African American?
You're not
Look,
talking about their
that's racist.
qualifications.
Benefits.
You're
Y'all
talking
don't
about their
talk
skin color. You're talking about their
qualifications
skin.
either. Y'all throw him up talking about he's a black guy. This is a black guy.
Don't put y'all in
She
that.
is not
I've
now
never
you're
said that.
upset? No,
That's
no,
another
no.
conversation.
Those two are
That is
qualified.
Let's
another
take a quick break,
conversation.
and we'll be right back on the business of being black with Tammi Mac.
Let's welcome the fantastic survivor, Ananda Lewis. Hey, girl.
Cocktails with the Queens. Black women's death rates for cancer are still 40%, the same they were 20 years ago. Because we're not the target audience. We're not who they're there to help.
Every Monday night.
I just want to say to you, thank you so much for just being here and being honest and opening up, because that's what people need to hear.
On Fox Soul.
What better thing to talk about than something that can save other women's lives? Let's go.
Hey, new background. Hey, new open. We looking fancy, y'all. We coming on up in the world.
TGIF.
You look good. Funky look good. I like it. I like it.
Right? It look good on everybody's skin. We all uniform.
Wednesdays and Fridays
You know what I like about it? Nobody can tell if your house is a mess. They don't know where you are. You could be anywhere and say, hey, I'm wherever.
Are you even in Dallas? Where are you?
I am in front of my new background.
There it is. There it is.
Let's take a little toast to, all right, this is going to be good. We got brown liquor.
Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand.
The first time I went to the White House, and yes, that was a flex. I said first time.
Every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Those conversations I'm willing to have if you're willing to listen. But if it's gonna make you say, oh, that's being racist. If it's gonna make you say, oh, you hurt my feelings. You know, Tamika's just too, she's angry. If that's gonna be the response, no thank you.
On Fox Soul.
It was a very emotional week and one that I keep reliving. It's hard to believe that I pulled it off and I ended up winning the tournament.
The Rising, celebrating Black athletes.
He set the bar not only for what you should strive for as a baseball player, but as a human being.
Back-to-back episodes every Thursday.
I think it's important to share whatever knowledge that I've gained throughout the years. Hopefully they can pass it on to the generation after.
On Fox Soul.
It's a lot of things that die, but legends never die.
Well, welcome back to the business of being Black with Tammi Mac. I'm Tammi Mac on Fox Soul. So 3 members of the University of Virginia football team were fatally shot and 2 other students were injured on a bus that had returned from a field trip. Campus officials identified the deceased victims as UVA football players Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. Now, police did not identify the 2 injured students, but the father of Michael Hollins Jr. revealed that his son had been shot and thankfully survived. Police arrested 22-year-old former Virginia walk-on football player Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., who has been identified as the lone gunman. Now, Jones is facing 3 counts of second-degree murder and 3 counts of using a handgun in commission of a felony, though the charges could change. So this brings about a whole nother issue of those gun laws, right? But what are your thoughts on this tragic story? Alycia?
Yeah, this is just very, very sad. Just to look at the lives of those young men, and they were UVA is an excellent school, and just to think that they didn't even get started with their life. And I was trying to research what exactly happened, and you know, they said that he said something like they were messing with me. I don't know what that means. It sounds like some sort of bullying, but I don't know. I just feel like this is very, very tragic, and I just need to find out more about the case. I don't know enough specifics, but that's, I mean, they said one gentleman was asleep on the bus when he got shot, and then the other 2. You know, I just feel bad for their parents, their family, even the shooter's family. Everybody's just stunned right now because it doesn't make any sense. And
yeah, even some professional football players have spoken out saying that they were mentors of a few of the young men. Ed?
Yeah, like Alycia, it's one of those things I think about their parents, right? Yeah. You know, you send students off to college and they're in the prime of their life, and a college should be a safe space. And to hear that they've been cut down, my heart goes out to them. But for the state of Virginia, you know, they've gone through sort of these mass shootings on campus. They had the shooting a couple years ago at Virginia Tech. And so you just have these reverberations on this issue and what to do with and how to deal with people that are having coping issues, right? Because if it is something around coping, we're having this conversation with young people in a variety of different ways, from, you know, Simone Biles to Naomi Osaka. We're talking about it more, but we're seeing sort of the fruits of, if you don't talk about it, what can happen.
Yeah, Dominique, you have a son headed to college.
Yeah, I mean, it's every mom's nightmare, Tammy. I mean, and every dad's too. You want your children to be safe, and we see, you know, these young men, just beautiful, vibrant young men cut down in the prime of their lives. I feel like it's even more tragic because this was a Black Studies group class on a predominantly white institution taking a trip that was meant to be a bonding trip. Everyone was reaching out reportedly to this guy and trying to include him because no one really knew him, which makes it seem really weird that he would say they were always picking on him when they didn't even know him. We don't know yet. I think that there's a lot more to this story.
Definitely.
And I just feel so sad for those students experiencing trauma, the families, and everyone involved.
John, what's your take on the tragedy?
My only question is how everyone, it seems, goes straight from hearing the story to we've got to do something about the gun laws. At the end of the day, we had an individual who committed an act of murder on multiple people, And he should be held responsible for that. He could have done it with a knife. He could have done it with his bare fist. Yes, his method of choice was a gun. But an inanimate object that is a gun is not the first thing that people should drift to when it comes to a tragic story like this.
Well, is it finally time to rewrite the United States Constitution's Second Amendment? And could limiting access to guns save our lives and reduce crime, Dominique?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, John, because actually no one said that. But I think
it was Tammi off the bat mentioned it.
I do think it's time to make some sensible changes to gun laws. I'm a 2A progressive, right? But no one needs automatic weapons. What do we need automatic weapons for? No one should have a gun without having a thorough background check. There are too many holes in the system, so that even if you are a person who believes in the Second Amendment, I think it's time for us to have some sensible changes to our gun laws. But like I said, I think there's more to this story, and I just think I want to make sure that we address every issue that's brought up.
Right, you're right, John. I did bring it up
briefly.
I did bring it up briefly. You're right. But go ahead, Alycia.
Yeah, I just also think that mental health, there's a huge mental health component to all of this. And they said that the alleged shooter, that he was a walk-on student. And they said that I'm wondering if he has some sort of, if he's having a psychotic break and hearing things in his head that may not have happened. And that goes back to the mental health component, because right now it just still does not compute.
We always lately seem to jump from guns to mental illness. Why do we do that now, Ed?
Well, I mean, we're seeing violence, right? And we're seeing people that are struggling with coping, committing violence. And so there's a fair conversation there, right? To almost to John's point, having guns and possessing guns is like as American as apple pie, right? First Amendment, freedom of speech, and Second Amendment, have a gun, right, to protect that. And, ultimately, we've got to do something, to Dominique's point, about the high capacity weapons and the ability to kill many people, right? I think the shooting on Virginia is different from the one that was on Virginia Tech, in that it was, I think, a handgun or something like that. But, how people are coping is really a bigger issue. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing people break, and you're seeing them break and be a little more violent, it seems like.
Right. Dominique?
Well, I think the part of the issue is that many times conservatives will use mental health as an excuse to avoid the gun issue, which is an issue.
John?
And at the same time, we cannot just ignore the mental health crisis that this country and the planet is in, particularly coming out of the pandemic.
I mean, I think it's so complicated when you have a case like this. There's mental health issues. There's the amount of time people are spending on the internet. It's the state of psychology these days. There's kids who don't know how to socialize.
The internet, really?
Absolutely. The amount of time people spend on the internet, the amount of time people spend playing video games.
Okay.
It's all of it together, but just to say, okay, well, if we ban guns, it's going to make everything go away and there's never going to be any violence anymore. I mean, that's ridiculous.
So what is the answer, John? Are you suggesting that there not be any adjustments to the gun laws?
I don't think that's the first thing you need to look at. And I don't think that if this guy was really feeling whatever it was he was feeling toward his peers, that he had to kill them, he could have done it with a kitchen knife. He could have done it with a car, and we do see that happening when people
and you're saying if he would have done it with a knife, no one would be like, we need new knife laws.
I don't think so. I think people agree. We need. I mean, more people are killed.
I agree that a gun is a lot more efficient.
People with a knife. Yeah. He would not have gotten 5 people with a knife.
They do that. You see it all the time in London. You see it in Germany. They don't have guns there, so they just resort to knives.
They don't have mass
murder.
Really
you would be more concerned to understand how he got to the point of violence, right? We just finished talking about Nancy Pelosi, and you think back to the attack on Paul Pelosi. This was a guy that became radicalized, not walking down the street. This is watching TV. This is on the internet. So it is in those circles, right? You see how people are being conditioned. In this case, it just happened, with football players.
But it's not the internet. It's the content of the internet. It's this polarization. It's this extremism that is mostly coming from the Republican Party at this point.
I don't even think
you need
to politicize it that way, because at the end of the day,
it's politicizing itself.
25 and under are spending all this time on the internet. They're isolating in their rooms. They don't feel connected to their communities. They don't feel connected to the society.
And what are they finding on the internet?
And what are they doing?
Far-right rhetoric.
It's not just far-right rhetoric.
That is radicalizing them.
It's before they even get
sides are hard to blame at some point, the left and the right, but I know you say you're progressive, so that's somewhere in the middle. Hold that
but
thought.
if you look at the mass killings, they're mostly on the right.
Definitely our thoughts and prayers are with the victims.
Go to Chicago. It's not on the right only.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. So a middle school teacher in Texas was fired after a video posted on social media went viral that shows him telling his students that his race is the superior one. Take a look.
Deep down in my heart, I'm ethnocentric, which means I think my race is the superior one. I think everybody thinks that, they're just not honest about it.
The teacher was speaking to a mostly non-white group of students about his convictions regarding race. So what are your thoughts on what he said? How would you react if this happened to your child? I mean, he said I had never heard of that word before. What did he describe it as? Ethnocentric. I didn't know that it meant that you believed that your race was superior. Yeah. Wow.
That's one interpretation.
Okay. So is he right, Ed?
Look, no, but I mean, in the, I mean, but you know, listen, the conversation is a mature conversation. It's interesting that it was happening in Texas, right? A state that's been at the forefront of trying to remove, critical race theory. In fact, in this last election cycle, you know, I think there are now 10 members on that board, the State Board of Education, that are poised to sort of roll back what students in Texas learn. And it's important because you see something like this, and you know, just from a legal perspective, you know, as a teacher, you telling a class of non-white students that you don't think that, you know, they can really compete, that you think that your race is better than theirs, you have to now go back and actually ask, how was he scoring those kids, right? And what were their grades? What was the tangible output of his teaching? Now, in the end game, this is a learning issue, right? This is a learning point for all of us, right? When we start talking about race, the reason why we have this conversation about critical race theory is you just simply can't wipe off the history of the United States. Race is at the center of it. It's the center of our politics. And
it's the reason why the teacher said what he said, right,
exactly.
Dominique?
Yeah, that's right. And I think this whole idea of controlling the minds of young people is a real struggle that's going on right now. Critical race theory really means I want to dictate what's being taught to my children, not just to have a say in it, but to dictate and to be able to censor. So on the one hand, I'm not able to teach about the enslavement of African Americans or even our glorious history, but I am able to sit in a classroom and tell you that I'm the superior race, and that, you know, somehow loving your own race means you think others are inferior, which is not actually correct. You can be Afrocentric or, you know, ethnocentric and still have plenty of respect and love for others.
So, John, when I saw the video, I thought to myself, does he have a point? He said, I love my race. I think my race is greater than anybody else's race. And so the thought here is, well, if you love your race, the black race, I'm assuming. I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
the
assume
black
so.
race, do you think that you and your race are better than anyone else?
That was the only thing he said that was I found to be very interesting. You're a teacher. You should not be saying that to a class full of students. But then he said, I think deep down everyone feels this. And there is a bit of ethnocentrism that I think every race has. You know, I think a lot of races feel our culture's better, our food's better, our music's better. That's just kind of how people take pride in their race. And so I found that to be interesting because when you look at black people, I know a lot of black folks who think that. I know a lot of Asian folks who think that about their culture and their heritage.
But that was my whole point.
You did say that. Yeah.
Without dismissing or downgrading somebody else.
Alicia, let me let you get in here.
But yes, we're talking about the ethnocentric part. But this man said in that video, "I am a racist." That's the part that we're leaving out of this discussion. Why would you tell a bunch of small children something like that? Why would you even be commissioned to educate a group of children that you think are less than you and beneath you? What started the whole thing was that a white kid had thrown a pencil across the room, and one of the little black kids said, "Oh, if I had done that, I'd be in bigger trouble." So those kids already knew that there was something about this white teacher that treated them differently than the other kids, and he admitted it. So this isn't about ethnocentricity. This is about pure on racism. And I don't know how the heck Jethro thought he was superior to anybody. He was so dumb he didn't even know they were recording him. Like, at least scan the room in a 360, Mr. Superior really a race.
They were a lot smarter than he was.
Oh, those kids were way smarter than
Those kids were so calm. Like, I felt like they were talk show hosts. So what you're saying is you're a racist?
And even one of them said, you know, I used to respect you. I don't even respect you anymore. Like, okay. So let's bring in a final conversation here on Elon Musk buying Twitter. What are our thoughts?
Well, my account has already been hacked as I was saying negative stuff about Elon. So
So you're
somebody
off
got
Twitter
my
too?
somebody
Okay.
has my whole page. They added another R to the end of my name and they changed it to some porn site. And all my friends they're begging for money, like stuff. I said, how did you get the site? And 3 days later, my whole world got flipped upside down.
Ed, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk?
You know, I think we're watching how quickly can you take a strong brand and run it into the ground. You know, Twitter's going to go the way of what, like Tumblr and some of the other apps that used to be around. In MySpace,
But him and John on Twitter.
Dominique, do you like Twitter? Are you going to? Okay, are you tweeting right now?
To see if it's still there. Yeah, it's still up.
It's still up.
I'm gonna make it through the weekend, Tammy.
I'm surprised. I'm totally surprised. John.
I lost my Twitter in March, and I haven't gotten it back yet.
What did you do?
I don't know. They don't tell you what you did. They just say you were banned. And so I was hoping when I don't know what I did, but I was hoping when Elon came in that he would, gift me my account back. But it hasn't happened yet. And he's not doing.
What
he's
makes you so special?
I mean, start with the president. No one has their accounts back. He's talking about like $8 verification. That was a mess. All these companies, like you had Mickey Mouse, like flipping the bird and doing all this stuff. It was the whole rollout was a mess.
And now everyone's quitting.
Unhappy.
Yeah.
So, although he claims it's the most used it's ever been, I don't know about that.
By him.
Yeah, it's the most used up. It's the most used up.
I think what he wants is I think he wants everybody gone so he can rehire people at minimum wage.
He fired, because he fired every. I don't know what he's doing.
Didn't he take Kathy Griffin off the comedian off of Twitter
He
just because
her
she?
today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
But
he put her back on today.
But apparently this.
Well, that's because she came back and under her dead mother's account.
Yeah.
But apparently all this total freedom, absolute free speech is not actually happening.
Yeah, it's not happening
It's
at all.
Only the people he likes that get to keep their
So
accounts.
I'm just, would any reason to stay on Twitter at this point, Ed?
No.
Y'all know you're going to be back on there, though, in a month. In a month, you're going to say, you know what,
Listen, I'll buy a Tesla, but I am not getting on Twitter. I'm sorry. I'll buy a Tesla, but I'm not going on Twitter.
You saw they're exploding, by the way.
Did you?
I think that's false. That's false.
Well,
That's false.
exploding or no exploding, Elon Musk, because of Tesla, is facing the largest discrimination lawsuit in the history of the state of California for anti-blackness. That's my issue with that.
Ooh, surprising.
You said surprising? Okay.
Yeah,
So
they're suing. We'll see if they have an actual case.
Are we on Twitter? Yes or no, Ed?
I'm on Twitter. I'm still on it. It's how I get my news until I find a better way.
Oh, there are newspapers.
Well,
that's
but look, there's not Black Twitter, though. There isn't Black Twitter, you know?
Are we on Twitter?
Oh, yeah, I'm going down with the Titanic.
Are we on Twitter?
I like Black Twitter.
Are we on Twitter, John?
I've got what they call a burner account, what the kids call burner. That's how I get my news.
I am not on Twitter, so you will not find me there. I want to thank Ed Sanders, Alycia Cooper, Dominique DePrima, and John Miller for joining me. Thanks for watching, and make sure you stay tuned for the second half of the 1 hour special. The Book of Sean is coming up next. That is the business of being black.
Welcome the fantastic survivor, Ananda Lewis. Hey, girl.
Cocktails with the Queens. Black women's death rates for cancer are still 40%, the same they were 20 years ago. We're not the target audience. We're not who they're there to help.
Every Monday night.
I just want to say to you, thank you so much for just being here and being honest and opening up, because that's what people need to hear.
On Fox Soul.
What better thing to talk about than something that can save other women's lives? Let's go.
Let's take a little toast to, all right, this is going to be good. We got brown liquor.
Brutally honest Breakfast with Jasmine Brand.
The first time I went to the White House, and yes, that was a flex. I said first time.
Every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Those conversations I'm willing to have if you're willing to listen. But if it's gonna make you say, oh, that's being racist. If it's gonna make you say, oh, you hurt my feelings. You know, Tamika's just too, she's angry. If that's gonna be the response, no thank you.
On Fox Soul.
It was a very emotional week and one that I keep reliving. It's hard to believe that I pulled it off and I ended up winning the tournament.
The Rising, celebrating Black athletes.
He set the bar not only for what you should strive for as a baseball player, but as a human being.
Back-to-back episodes every Thursday.
I think it's important to share whatever knowledge that I've gained throughout the years. Hopefully they can pass it on to the generation after.
On Fox Soul.
It's a lot of things that die, but legends never die.